truly, truly tragic. Now, I've always said, show me a child actor and I will show you parents who should be on Children's Services speed dial. So Hayden Panettiere passed away last night at 36 from suspected cardiac arrest, cause still pending, and overdose. And it's just awful. I mean, she fought a good fight. She knew she had issues and even let her daughter live with her ex in a war zone because she knew he could be the better parent. To her, I say, good on you, you know? So she broached this topic on May 26 while promoting her memoir, This Is Me, A Reckoning, where she spoke about postpartum depression, motherhood, and growing up in Hollywood. And during the panel, Hayden explained how her struggles with addiction and postpartum depression sparked her decision to give up custody of her 11-year-old daughter, Kaya, to her ex-fiancé, Vladimir Klitschko, who lives in Kyiv, Ukraine. She said, the worst thing that somebody said to me was that it was a personal choice I was making. And, I mean, she admitted she felt guilt-ridden over being completely incapable of parenting Kaya and said, who would choose to feel this? Like, how could you even say that to me? This beautiful child is healthy and has everything to celebrate. And she explained, I'm completely incapable of doing it. And I felt so guilt-ridden that I was incapable of doing it. And to Hayden, I say, girl, you are a hero. You understood what you were capable of and selflessly let your daughter go, not only to receive the secure, loving childhood you never had, but to break the cycle. As for her mother, Leslie Vogel, well, that's a whole nother bag of bullshit. Leslie Vogel's Hayden Panettiere's mother. So in this memoir, Hayden revealed that her fractured relationship with her mother, who was a fellow Hollywood actress, may be the most chilling aspect of her life. So Hayden, who began working at 8 months old, 8 months, not 8 years, 8 months. She landed her first commercial, a spot for a Play School toy, when she was just 11 months, was managed into superstardom as a child by her mother, Leslie Vogel. So ahead of the book's release, Hayden alleged her mother's management of her as a child star contributed to the many demons she faced, such as alcohol and opioid addiction. The worst of the revelations, however, may be her claim that her mother was only invested in their relationship financially. So back in May, a source close to the actress told the Daily Mail that the estrangement from her mother was worse than anyone knows. But according to the actress, Hayden, the reality behind this childhood success was dark. And in her memoir, she recalls her mother as harsh and critical of her, even as a tiny child. After one audition for a Kodak advertisement, Hayden recalls how she froze and couldn't perform, but worse than that, humiliation of freezing and not being able to perform was the prospect of telling her own mother about her failure. And so she said, for a hot minute, I contemplating letting my manager tell her later. And then I relented and told her mother I didn't do it. And her mother stood up and said, you didn't do it? I drove all the way here and you just walked out? We'll talk about it in the car. Get in your stroller. In her stroller, she was that young. Mom pushed me out the door and onto the sidewalk, moving a little more quickly than she had on the way to the audition. My heart was pounding. Mom was a perfectionist and she knew what I was capable of. She expected the best for me and I hadn't come close to delivering that. Now she was disappointed in me and that was a fate worse than death. She was 4 years old And she looked up at her mother and recalled saying, oh, and then there was that soul-shattering underbite that her mom got when she used to get really, really mad and make her really scared. Again, she was 4. On another occasion, Hayden recalls how her mother wasn't going to let something as trivial as a lost tooth derail her daughter's prospects at an audition. Hayden said that her mother, after she lost her tooth, said, "Give me the tooth and cross your fingers." So Hayden gave her the tooth and watched her mother squeeze a dab of super glue onto it before affixing it to a retainer with an acrylic palette. They waited a few seconds until the glue dried before Hayden slipped it into her mouth and performed the audition. Now, Hayden has publicly claimed that her mother told her from a young age that her career was crucial to supporting the family financially, with her salary as a child being used to pay for household expenses like car payments and phone bills. Hayden said, "I worked hard making money, and this money was going towards things I wasn't privy to." It's insane. In a 2011 interview with the Wall Street Journal, Hayden said she did not have the slightest clue as to how much I was paid. "I was never curious about how much until I was older." But when Hayden got older and began to feel that her mother's management of her career professionally was reportedly negatively impacting them personally and their relationship, the cracks started to show, and her mother was the boss, not the parent. So here's what Hayden had to say, and this made me tear up. So I need to get this clip up because it's horrific. Just here we go. Hold on.
Gosh, that was my entire relationship with her. She was my boss. That's how I saw her. Even though she was the most supportive person when I, did what I was supposed to do and did it well and was the one cheering me on, it did feel like that was what I had to do to get her love. And that was, a tough pill to swallow. Everything was business. Everything was business focused. And I started at 8 months old. I can't even remember a time where she wasn't a momager, where everything didn't revolve around business. And there were periods of time as I got older where we spent a lot of time traveling and on the road together, and I was the only person there. So I became the confidant and the assistant and the therapist and the shoulder to cry on and everything but her child.
Have you ever had the opportunity to tell her that and to have that conversation with her?
When I was 19, I finally got the guts got up the courage to split from her as business wise, because I desperately wanted a relationship with her, desperately wanted her to just be my mom. And so she came into my trailer during lunch when we were filming Heroes, and I said to her, I don't want us to work together anymore. I just want you to be my mom. And I remember being hopeful, but there was that part of me who knew her too well. But I also wasn't expecting the reaction that I got, which was, "You owe me." And that's all she said. And she walked out. And part of me was like, oh, I'm relieved that it was short, like ripped the Band-Aid off. But then it was like this dark looming cloud, over my head going, what does she mean by I owe her? What form of payment is she expecting? And it was disappointing to find out that it was money and that she didn't pursue a relationship with me as just a mother-daughter. Like once the business aspect was removed, I was hoping that if I remove this, then there will be no reason for her to be anything other than my mom. And the fact that it seemed like she didn't care to have a relationship with me was a tough pill to swallow.
Wow. Sorry. Okay. So Hayden's mom has hit back at her claims that she forced Hayden to work as a child actor and alleged at the time that the resurfacing of her drama with her daughter was simply designed, quote, to sell books. What a piece of work, hey? So it's interesting that this all happened because last week I did an interview with a clinical and forensic psychologist, and the interview airs tomorrow at 12:30 lunchtime EST on News Nation for my show, The Scoop. And again, ironically, I taped it last week, and it's about child stars and why the whole industry around using children is a problem. And I've been so angry about it for a while. Again, I've been doing this for 30 years, and it got to the point. One of the reasons I quit Page Six was because I was becoming so cynical, and I could just look at people and be like, yeah, I know what's about to happen, and it's not good. Oh boy. And I didn't want to watch it. I didn't want to see it anymore. Anyway, I took a clip of my interview with Leslie, and I'm going to show it to you now, just talking about child stars and what happens when they are the ones who are responsible to be adults, like in Hayden's case, at 8 months old.
Can you tell me, when a child's entire value is tied to fame and box office numbers, what happens to their psychological development when that fame fades in their late teens or 20s?
I think we have to look at that word value more as identity. So when a child's entire identity is frozen at 14 and they are a role, they're a person, and then they're owned by a network, what happens, right? And then they become the financial person for the family. The rules aren't applying to them. They're not going to bed on time. They don't figure out who they are because they're a character. So bad things happen, right? Over time, they have to turn into an adult. They age out of being the cute, famous kid, and they're often introduced into substance abuse. And we just have this really fast downhill trajectory if they don't have the correct support around them. And the government does nothing to help them. Sure, their money has to go into a trust. Where's the therapist on the movie set? Where's the follow-up? Where's the education for the parents?
Show me a child star, and where's children's services?
Exactly. Because, crashing out makes a lot of people money at the same time. And we're watching these adults right now every day, and they're not doing well, but their accounts are thriving.
Because the support is often, and I would see this all the time back in the early 2000s, the tween star didn't want to come out of their trailer. So the company would give them anything they wanted just to get out of the trailer and go perform on set. So all of a sudden, nobody's around catering to them. They don't really have a great education. And mom and dad are not usually that invested in anything except their bank accounts. So no wonder they have a meltdown when they're on their own, right? Macaulay Culkin, where the parents ended up in a massive court battle over his earnings. How does the dynamic shift, and what happens when the child becomes the family's primary breadwinner, and what happens when it stops?
I think that's where we get that fancy word parentification. But he didn't need to be doing that at his age. Like, come on, parents. What horrible parents. He had to learn the legal system. He had to learn about finances when he should have just been playing video games and hanging with his friends. So,
Yep.
I mean, there are so many failures, but then you're getting shot out into actual parenting of yourself when you never had a chance to grow up. And so there's going to be this mismatch, and it's inevitable that there's going to be psychological fallout and struggle and ways to self-medicate.
Ask you, what does it do to a young mind when authority figures, producers, network executives, handlers, I mean, even parents prioritize production deadlines and ratings over a child's emotional or physical well-being?
It breaks their mind. I mean, they begin to identify as an object that needs to get things done, and they don't grow into the human that they could have been.
Yeah. All right. So, final word on that. I just urge you guys to watch the full interview I did with clinical and forensic psychologist Dr. Leslie Dobson tomorrow, 12:30 on News Nation. My day job. Their YouTube channel. All right. So, hard right turn from that. Drive the time of our show with our daily Doug. And I got something extra for it because here's our first daily Doug.
Dougie.
Hi, Walter. Okay, so apparently Doug has fans. I didn't know if you were aware of that. And I know some of you guys are fans, but then here's this fan. I'm going to say she's from Only Dogs. Only Dogs. Oh my God. I love freaky dog videos so much, you guys. It made me so happy. And I don't know. I don't have the heart to tell her Doug doesn't have any balls anymore. Not my decision. He just came like that. But what love springs eternal. Maybe they'll just meet on, melding of the minds. I also don't have the heart to tell her Doug is broke. Mother loves you. He has yet to donate anything for rent. I mean, tic-tac, Dougie. I love him so much. He's sleeping over there, ignoring me completely. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, hit the hype. And I will see you tomorrow, Tuesday at 6 o'clock, because Tom Sykes, the Royalist, is on at 5. I'm in it. And I gotta let people who want to come from him to me, that kind of stuff. All right, you guys. I really, really appreciate you. Sorry again for tearing up. Mwah. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys. Have a great night.